hear you.
Dr. Kyle Deering. Dr. Kyle Deering is the owner of Modoc Family Optometry. And Dr. Deering, man, hello. Welcome to the program. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Great to be here, and I'm really appreciative that you asked me to be on the show because, I've watched these all the time and I've learned so much from them, and it's kind of cool to kind of share my experience. And I hope whoever's watching out there learned something today. So,
yeah, absolutely, man. And again, thank you so much for joining us because, what are we here doing, y'all? Look, Dr. Deering is going to share with everyone his experience on the path to purchasing the practice and what to expect in the first 90 days. Why? Because we're recording this on what's today? Today, the date of the live version is Friday, September the 1st. And Dr. Deering recently celebrated the 90-day milestone, 90 days in practice ownership. So, y'all, we're going to dig deep into some really cool things that, quite frankly, don't often come to the surface in the online communities, don't often come to the surface even in content that we put out from Akrinos. So if you're tuning in live and you've got questions, please do drop them in the comments. And what do you say we jump right into it? And Dr. Deering, I'd really like to kind of start the conversation with maybe just sharing with people a little bit about your personal journey. What inspired you to get into optometry and let's just kind of start there.
Yeah. So, my path to optometry is, maybe a little different than most or some others, but, what kind of got me into optometry is, I had an optometrist actually that I saw, several times growing up and stuff. And I just kind of like the way that, you can connect to people and talk face to face. You're literally this close to people sometimes. But I graduated optometry school just not too long ago. It feels like yesterday, but it's actually been, 2019. I graduated from the Arizona College of Optometry, which prepared me pretty well. But, I took from my undergrad school, I took a year off and I kind of worked in an ophthalmology optometry setting, just to make sure that this is something that I wanted to pursue and whatnot. So I, took a year off. I worked for a great ophthalmologist, good company that I've learned a ton from. And it kind of made me know that this is what I wanted to do, is help people, see and just interact with people, personal side. So I took a year off from undergrad before I went to the school, and it helped me out tremendously, not just for the fact that I knew what I wanted to do, but it also gave me kind of an open door to come back into what I wanted to do, work in a setting where I have colleagues that can help me and all that stuff. So it's kind of what I did. I went to school, came back home to my hometown, and started practicing at the place that I used to work for as a technician, which is pretty cool to be able to do that. My coworkers at the time, or my boss at the time, was, they helped me out and all that. And I came back and now I was working with them again. So it's pretty cool to my path to practice, or I guess optometry. So
yeah, it's fascinating, Dr. Deering, that there are so many out there that do become inspired to pursue the profession from working in a practice, and it's really exciting. Again, that journey. I think what's also really fascinating about that is that while you were leaning towards it, you took that year off, and it was only upon being in that environment, fully immersed in that environment, that you were ready to pursue it. Okay, so you go off to optometry school, you come back with an opportunity to join this practice, and how did things kind of maybe let's talk about, because look, I mean, this is 2023. You graduated in 2019. Dr. Deering, it's only been 4 years, right? So when in the course did you come to realize, I kind of think I want to see about the opportunity to purchase one of these locations? Was it something you initiated, something that the seller initiated? Kind of bring us up to speed on that. When it really first kind of started?
Yeah. So, the group that I came back to, they had a pretty decent sized practice for our area. We're very rural, Southern Oregon, Northern California is where we're at. And they were the biggest group in the area by far. And so they had 5 different practices. I came back and I worked 3 days a week at the one location in, the bigger town. And then they had an outreach clinic down in a really, really rural area of Northern California called Alturas, California, which if you want to pull up the map, it might not even have it on there. I don't know. But no, Alturas is it's like 2,000 populated town. But this outreach clinic, I was seeing patients down there like 2 days a week. And, it's about an hour and a half drive. And, it's a lot of work. And I was going down there and I was seeing a lot of medical patients, a lot of older patients, ranchers, just people who just don't have the care or just don't have the access to care. So, they're coming in with things that, like things that most people may not want to manage or send out to a specialist that, we just don't have. And so I enjoyed that.
Sure.
And, 2 days a week was fun. And, I just realized I did that for like 2.5, 3 years. And I realized like, man, it's kind of a lot of work and I'm working really hard. I felt like for, somebody else in a way, it's just part of being an associate. You don't get to see all the numbers. You don't quite see the big picture of what goes on in a clinic. But I just knew I was doing this 2 days a week and I was getting tired of driving all the way down there and seeing these patients. I loved it. But at the end of the day, I was like, if I'm going to do this, work this hard for somebody else, why not just work this hard for myself, or maybe work a little extra harder for myself and, reap more of the benefits from it. And so I did that for 3 years and I kind of realized like, maybe I'll see about buying it. And the thing is that, the sellers at the point, who were my boss, basically, they kind of had this practice just more for like keeping it within touch with them. There's a lot of surgeries because they're ophthalmologists, so it's not that they didn't want the practice, but they would have rather had somebody down there like me who works hard, knows their system, and, still keep that optometry connection and referral base and stuff. And so I just approached the owners or the sellers at the time, and they were super grateful for me to reach out to them because that's kind of what they were hoping for, is to find somebody who wants to be down there in this clinic. So that's what that kind of sparked it, is just, I got tired of working hard for somebody else and I just wanted to do it for myself. And here we are. Yeah. It's a lot of process to get to this point, but
yeah. And we're gonna get into some of that stuff. But yeah, you're as a matter of fact, Dr. Deering, just recently we've had yet another doctor reach out, similar situation as you, right?
Yeah.
And it's so common that this marvelous opportunity. And I think something that I want to there's two things that I want to toss out there. One is what you said, that it was really you looking at yourself and realizing like, man, if I'm working this hard for someone else, what am I capable of if I'm really going all in on myself, right? And you wait for it. But number two, the degree to which the owner at the time was open to it, right? Yeah. And I think that's where there's an opportunity for many emerging practice owners, which you once were. As a matter of fact, if I'm doing the calculations correctly, just a few months ago, you were an emerging practice owner. Now you're an established practice owner. Yeah. But as it were, there are so many emerging practice owners, right? Yeah. They're associated in practices, or they see that fixer-upper maybe that they don't even associate in. Yeah. Y'all reach out. There's so many doctors out there that own these practices that are looking for an opportunity to leave the legacy. And in this case of this seller, the strategic, because I know you shared with me when we spoke recently, Dr. Deering, this strategic kind of now collaborative way that you all have of working together, and that win-win referral relationship. So so now let's maybe touch a little bit into some of the process, right? So and I think that's probably what much of the audience wants to dig into, right? It's kind of like that firsthand account. So so you approached the seller about it, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you and I may have one of our very first conversations was just about that, right? It was just a casual conversation. Why don't you share with everyone kind of, well, really, I guess, really what got you to the point of being like, you know what, I need to really like pull some forces in and really get some direction on this. Why don't you share people about that very early stages there?
Yeah. So, even before I approached the seller, I approached you, Eric, first. It's because I just had all this, this ideas and all this, like, well, what could happen, type of thing. But, I didn't know. I'm just, at that time, I was like, this was like a year and a half when we first met,
it was a while. Yeah.
I signed the contract type thing. But I reached out to you first, and kind of told you what I was thinking, and you've helped me greatly, put my head in the right order and know exactly kind of what the situation was. And that's what I would say for anybody who's thinking about asking to buy a practice, just reach out to someone like Eric, or some kind of, somebody who's in this business of helping us doctors and whatnot buy practices. Reach out to people like you, because that can really, help me, know that I'm doing the right thing, or getting, maybe going down the right road or whatnot. So yeah, well before I even asked the owners, I came out to you, and it was one of those things where I kind of have a situation that maybe not everybody has, but, buying an established practice in a very rural area can do great things, because, you don't have the competition of another doctor or a big box name store type of thing down the road. Like for me, I'm the only clinic in the whole county, and there's nobody else within, 95, 96 miles away. So in a way, this practice is, I'm the, technically the eye guy in the area, which is nice because people trust you if you do a good job and all that. But yeah, basically, the whole first step was to make sure I was going to do the right thing, which requires a lot of due diligence. I mean, you have to, before you just say, yeah, I'll buy that practice, you got to make sure the practice is worth buying, for one. You got to look at the numbers, and if you don't know what you're looking at, get somebody who does help you. And that's where Eric, helped me out a ton. So that's what I'd say for anybody who's thinking about buying it. Don't just jump the gun. Just, it's a big decision. I mean, it's the biggest decision I've made in my life, I think, other than having kids and, getting married and stuff. But do your due diligence before you just commit to something. And that's kind of what I did to start before I even went to the owners. Like, should I even ask the owners if this isn't kind of worth doing? So,
yeah. And I was when you mentioned the due diligence, I'm thinking back to, and it's fascinating, right? I mean, every situation is different, right? But as it were, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the due diligence, and it's fascinating what type of, quite frankly, what type of opportunity. And I think that's a lot of Dr. Deary, as we were going through the process together, kind of with evaluation, going through due diligence, establishing all those business foundations as you were taking over, but identifying the opportunities, right? Because that's truly what it's all about, right? And if we think back to this very early conversations, as a matter of fact, and that's where let's say, I believe you were the first one that had said, when we were having one of those early conversations, you were the one that said how you saw the potential down there if the doctor presence was there, right? Because at the time, you were the only provider going down there. You were maybe one other provider going down there periodically, but it was, basically a handful of days a month, two or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
But to understand and have the foresight, which you had, to see it. But nonetheless, there's still a lot of planning that goes into it. There's still a lot of strategy. There's still a lot of calculations that goes into it. So let's talk about the very first, and it starts with going and say, like, you know what, hey, this is like having the realization this is something you would want to go into doing, right? Exactly. Casually approaching the seller as you did and gauge their interest. And then once you discover they were interested, it's like, oh, wow, okay, where do we go from here? So, all right. So the process starts, obviously going through due diligence, coming up with evaluation. Share with folks what it was like now that you had this number in hand, because as I recall, the
Yeah.
seller, as sellers oftentimes do. They're going to
Mhm.
do one of two things, y'all. They're either one, going to toss out some crazy number,
Yeah.
or two, they're going to kind of lob it into your court and say, make me an
Mhm.
offer. So as I
Yeah.
recall, that's when you had reached out to us and circled back to us a number of months later and said, hey,
Yeah.
Rick, I think this is going to move forward. Where do we go from here? So we do the valuation, we come up with a price. Share,
Mhm.
folks, what it was like when you approached that seller with the offer.
Yeah. So in my situation, I still have a good relationship with the seller, and at the time I was working for him and stuff. So I was not afraid to go talk face to face in his office and talk about, the potential and how this could be a good thing for everybody involved and stuff. And for me, anyways, he kind of threw out the offer first. And so he kind of presented me with this purchase price. And when I first saw the purchase price, because I kind of had an idea of what I was doing as far as number wise for that practice, 1 or 2 days a week. So I kind of like figured, what it could be worth, when I get my production numbers, I guess. And so he kind of threw out this price. And at first I'm like, well, it kind of seems a little high at first, but I was like, well, maybe it is a good price. So then, after he gave me the price, I'm like, I need to make sure that is a decent price or not. And that's when then I go down and ask you and whoever for a valuation. And then from the valuation, it kind of helped me solidify that was a good price, or if it was too high, or obviously if it was too low, I'm not going to go ask the seller to raise the price. But I mean, at this point, I did a valuation and the numbers kind of proved that the price that the seller was willing to sell it for was a good price. And so I didn't really have to do any real hard negotiating with the sellers. And I didn't really want to go down the negotiating route if I didn't have to, because business transactions and business in general, it can become emotional, and, sellers want the best price for their practice, especially if you're trying to buy a practice from a person who's built it up and it's like their baby, they're going to want the maximum amount for it. Where some, sellers obviously want the least amount possible. So you got to have to kind of come together, find a happy medium. But during the whole process of a business transaction, there's going to be emotions, tensions can get tight. And even though the sellers and I had really good relationship, there was some kind of tension involved. But, at the end of the day, you get over it and you still have to be professional about it. And I feel like we were the whole time through. But yeah, so the valuation helped solidify that the price was right, and I didn't have to really go down that negotiating route. So it was a good experience for me as far as that price point goes. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the first key is, get a valuation, look at the numbers, have somebody, if you don't know what you're looking at, hire somebody to help you, because it's well worth your money. It could save you a lot of money in the long run. And it can just make you feel good about the choice you make. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So going down the path, and by the way, for those that are just tuning in, we're hanging out here at the Cold Start Corner with Dr. Kyle Deering. Dr. Kyle Deering is the owner of Modoc Family Optometry. And we're talking about, he shared with everyone his path to purchasing a practice and what it's been like in practice ownership. Is he recently celebrated his 90 days in ownership at Modoc Family Optometry. And Dr. Deering, that's what I like to do now is now kind of fast forward the conversation.
Okay.
We could probably speak ad nauseum about some of the, once the price is agreed upon, there's still a lot that goes into having things come through. But that's a lot of paperwork, right?
Yeah.
A lot of paperwork.
Paperwork.
And a lot of patience. A lot of patience.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're expecting to buy a practice, go to the seller and be opening your doors in a month. Yeah. You plan on at least kind of like at least a 6-month process before negotiations are settled. Prices, banks are, willing to finance and all that, or sellers finance in my case. So give yourself some time. If you're hoping to be into private practice and day one opening your doors within a month, plan for at least 6 months to a year.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into making these decisions. So setting up everything and all that. So
And by the way, that is really, really great advice. Really great
Yeah.
advice. And I want to repeat that.
Yeah.
Folks out there, if you're looking to buy a practice, understand this takes 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And even 6 months is probably
That would be, yeah. It took me
pushing
almost
it.
18 months from that first conversation
That's
to
right.
opening
Yeah.
my doors. It was about an 18-month process. But, I just made sure everything was the right decision. And if it's not going to take you 12 months, then I think you're probably rushing your decisions and you're not doing your due diligence. So, if you do your due diligence, plan on a year.
Yeah. So here we are. That period is done.
Mm-hmm.
Signed the date. As I recall, it was May the 15th.
Yep.
What was it like, man? What was it like driving to that office location that first day that you were going, not as an associating doctor, but as the owner of the practice?
Yeah, it's kind of a surreal moment, I guess. I mean, it kind of didn't sink in till a couple of weeks after the fact, because like I said, the staff that have been at this office, I was kind of like the guy going down there. There's another guy that was going down maybe once a week here and there, but I kind of already felt in a way like I owned the place, because I was the guy that they were always seeing as far as my staff. And a lot of patients thought I already owned it before I owned it. So it was kind of like, I don't know, maybe another day, but with, oh crap, now I got to, make sure these team members respect me as the owner now, not just another guy coming in and out the door. So that first day, I chose not to just hammer us with patients. I made it a fun day for my staff. We went over some guidelines and some handbooks that we created, and I kind of just wanted to, make it an enjoyable first day. And with my staff, have meetings. When I took my staff out to lunch, we just kind of had a good day. Paid them while they were there, because it's another day for them. But
that's what you do as the owner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wrote another check, I feel like. But no, it was a good day. But that's the nice thing with what I had going, is this practice was already established. I mean, we were booking out, as far out 2 to 3 months already. So it wasn't, it's a little easier for somebody who buys an established practice compared to somebody who just starts brand new and tries to build that practice, 2 to 3 patients a day for the first couple of weeks, maybe month for this cold start, is maybe typical. Where for me, I could have seen 20 patients day one if I wanted to, but I chose to take it easy. I just wanted to ease into it, do like 8 to 10 that first week. And then as the weeks go on, as we get our systems in order, our new computer system, which is always challenging to learn, going from one EHR to the next, can be challenging. So I just kind of made it a slow start into really the ownership, which I think helped a lot, because we make a lot of mistakes that first few months. We still are making a lot of mistakes, but we're learning. So
absolutely. So there was someone we spoke recently. You said every day is an adventure.
Yeah.
Why don't you elaborate on that? On that a little bit.
Well, so like for me, every day I show back up to the office, there's either another bill on my desk or there's another referral letter, or there's another issue that we're having with referrals and whatnot, or whatnot. So every day I feel like we just take it that day at a time, and we get over all the little hurdles that are thrown at us. But we get through some things, and then the next day we show back up, and we got to figure out what we need to work on. And whether it's the computer system, we didn't know how to order contacts, or we're getting, my biggest thing was that first week our contact lens that patients were buying got misplaced in the mail, and it took them 2 months before these patients got their contacts. And it was a struggle. And the nice thing is, the patients down there in this area know and trust us, and they'll still come back to us. We try to help out, as much as possible. But yeah, every day you show up, there's something new. You either got to learn, or you got to get over, or you got to figure it out. And I'm sure when I come back after this long weekend, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things we got to learn and figure out. A lot of mail on my desk or something. So, but Yeah.
Awesome stuff, Dr. Deary. So what would you say, what would you say, you know, what does the future hold? So here you go, you know, the first
Yeah.
few months are under your belt. You know, there's a lot of things. Well, you said it best. Like every day is an adventure, right? There's
Yeah.
exciting things to figure out, and there's wins. There's also going to be, you know, struggles, right? It's part of it. But you know, look into the future.
Yeah.
What do you see on the horizon for your practice? What are some,
Well,
you know, cool things
yeah.
you
I
guys are
mean,
looking to get into?
yeah, it's really, you know, like I said, I got a cool practice. I got a nice area of practicing with a lot of medical care. You know, we're working on getting, you know, connected with the medical clinic in the area. So we're trying to get more referrals coming into us so that these patients don't have to travel as far out and stuff. But the horizon is, you know, it's bright for us. Our future is bright. You know, this clinic, we're attracting from a lot of different areas now. The word's kind of getting out, and I just tell my staff, you know, just, you know, treat people with respect, take care of the people, and they'll take care of us. And if you do a good job, and you know, always smile and take care of, even though some patients can be ornery, and sometimes you like to tell them go somewhere else, you got to realize where we're at, there is no one else. So we got to take
Yeah,
care
right.
of patients. And I'm excited. I mean, every day I look forward to getting up in the morning and going to work, even though I drive an hour and a half one way to work every day, which it hasn't drawn on me yet, but you know, that's one of the challenges for me anyways. But it's bright. I'm excited. I mean, I can't wait to get back on Tuesday and see what, you know, what we can do to be better. You know, every day we're learning. And the thing is, you know, one thing I've heard, you know, buying a practice or being an owner is like, oh, the staff is you're going to be your biggest challenge. And for me, that's not true. I mean, I have really good staff. I only have 4 employees, which makes it nice because there's not a lot of people you got to, you know, manage. But I have a great office manager. I have great staff all around, but my office manager is a lifesaver. So if you can put yourself, if you're going to buy a practice, surround yourself with people that care about you as the owner, care about your practice, whether, you know, it's, you can pay them a little more to get that respect these days, but, you know, just take care of your people, because when you take care of your people, they take care of you, and the business runs itself in a way. And that's what I found is, without my staff, I couldn't do this. I mean, I rely on them a lot. I don't mind delegating a lot of things to these people, that because I can trust them. So as a new practice owner or buying an established practice, if you got staff that, you know, that's not going to be an asset to you, it would be wise to start fresh with people that you want to be around. And that's the thing. I love going to work because I love the people I work with. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. What an awesome conversation, Dr. Deary. And I tell you what, also the way you kind of wrapped it together, I mean,
Yeah.
that's like mic drop right there. That is absolute mic drop right there. Could not agree more, right? It's all about people. It's about surrounding people who
Yeah.
prioritize you, right? And I think the same goes with how you engage with your community, right? I love what you said about what's on the horizon. You
Yeah.
got a plan in place to grow the referral base
Yeah.
of the community, you know, of your practice. Um,
Yeah.
huge, amazing stuff. And man, I tell you, look, again, through and through, Dr. Deering,
Yeah.
congratulations. It's been
Oh, thank you.
incredible being a part of the journey and seeing all the amazing
Absolutely.
things you're doing in the community. And you've only just started, right? You're only like 90 days in.
3 months.
Um,
Yeah.
but so hey, look, so for all
Mhm.
those, you know, emerging practice owners that are, you know,
Yeah.
just like where you were a few short years ago. If they want to reach out to you, kind of pick your brain, you
Yeah.
guys, Modoc Family Optometry is on Facebook. Yeah.
Yep. We have a Facebook page. Yep.
Cool.
We don't have any website set up yet. That's something I'm looking at starting hopefully soon, maybe next year or whatnot, so that we can get more people to reach out to us. But yeah, you can message us on Facebook. More than welcome to obviously reach out to Eric. Eric's got my contact information, and you know, if you reach out to Eric, he knows he can send whatever you need to me and all that. You can even email me if you want. But yeah, just, you know, I love helping people, not just patients, but people who are in my shoes or thinking about it. If you want to just heart-to-heart conversation, and I'll tell you straight the way it is. And I'm not sponsored by any company or anything. So I'll just tell you the way I say it or see it and have done. And if you want a straight answer, you can come to me anytime you want. But, honestly, like I want to circle back on the people that I surround myself with. It's also not just the staff I work with, but it's the people who've helped me get here, like Eric. Eric he's part of my people, and you surround yourself with your CPAs and your referral centers, people out in the other communities, those are also your people. So treat them with respect, and they'll treat you with respect as well. And just set yourself up with success. And, there's being an owner, the ceiling, there's endless potential. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dr. Kyle Deering, man, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Cold Star Corner and putting it all out there, right? Putting it all out there, sharing your journey of your path to practice ownership and what it's been like here now as an owner. So on behalf of our team at Akrinos, also Dr. Deering, it's been an absolute pleasure serving your practice, and amazing to see all the great things you guys have going on. So to all those that tuned in, thank you so much for joining us. If you're looking for more great practice management content, and specifically stuff that's geared laser focused for those wanting to get into practice ownership, purchasing a practice like Dr. Deering, cold starting a practice, we got a lot of really great stuff. Subscribe to the Akrinos YouTube channel, follow us on the socials, and visit akrinos.com for everything you need to make it happen in practice ownership. So Dr. Deering, man, thank you again so much for joining.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, thanks for having me. So.